Good afternoon. Welcome to the October 17, 2024 meeting of the Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency Board of Directors. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you. Director Desmond, Director Frost. Here. Director Hume.
Here.
Chairman Kennedy.
Here.
Director Cerna.
Here.
Director Jennings.
Here.
Director Kaplan. Director Talamentes. Director Holloway.
Present.
Director Johns.
Here.
Director Abdes.
I am here.
Thank you. Director Perez.
Present.
And Director Conant. We do have a 10-member quorum.
Thank you very much. Are there any members of the public that are signed up?
I have not received any
Are
requests.
there any members in the audience? Seeing none, we'll go to separate matters. It's not on the agenda.
The chair is very obedient.
I do what she tells me.
It's on my agenda.
It's not on my agenda. Let's do the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for your patriotism.
Our first item is separate matters, an information item on the history of the Sacramento level of flood protection.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Rick Johnson, Executive Director. So at the last board meeting, we had a member of the public indicate that needed more information about the level of protection and its history for Sacramento. So I put a write-up in the written thing. It's kind of a lot of information there, but I just wanted to hit a few of the high parts of this one. This particular picture, before I go on, that's from the flood in the early 1950s. That's the H Street Bridge right there, and you can, about 178,000 cubic feet per second coming down the river. You can see the river straighten itself out through Campus Commons, and that's what we're trying to prevent in the future with the work that we're doing. So real quickly, back in the mid-50s when the Corps finished building Folsom Dam, about that same time they finished the work on the levees. And back in those days, they would, for urban areas, they would design systems to handle a standard project flood. And they didn't assign a frequency to those, but volume-wise, it was about the same size as a 500-year event. So originally, we had about a 500-year level of protection. Now, over the years, we learned we didn't really have that. This graph, I know I've shown it you before, but it's peak flows on the American River. The red line is when Folsom Dam, the construction was started. If you look at what's left of that red line, that's the record they used to design the system based on. And you can see what happened right of that red line. In fact, after Folsom Dam was completed, we had 5 record storm events in 46 years. And so after the 86 event, the Corps downgraded the level of protection to about 60 years. And then after the new urban levee standards came out after Hurricane Katrina, some parts were down as low as 30 years, like the Natomas area. So a lot less than we originally thought we had. Back in 95, Congress directed the National Research Council, to do a study, and they looked at the American River. One of the things they did in there was a tree ring study. They recreated the American River flows back to 1560, and what they found is the period from 1917 to 1950, which is the period right before that they used to design the system on, was the most extreme dry period in 420 years. And in fact, they recommended that the Corps drop that period out when they calculate the frequencies. That the Corps and FEMA have never done that, because if they did, it would really reduce our level of protection. But it did a further indication that we didn't have what we thought we did. And then in addition to the more frequent, larger events, 2020 American River Basin study showed that the timing of the runoff is coming earlier in the season. And so graphically, what that means here is runoff that used to come in the spring and early summer would now come back into the fall and winter. And so I laid on top of that our flood control diagram at Folsom, where Folsom's a multi-purpose. So in the winter time flood season, we draw it down 40 to 60%, and then we fill it starting in the spring. And so you can see we've lost some of the runoff, or will be losing over the next decade, or it wasn't even that long, next 30 years or so, more of the runoff from the fill period to the period where we have to deal with it as a flood. So those two things are part of what's causing the problem. So I guess the question is, what is the appropriate level of flood protection for Sacramento? As I mentioned, we really originally had about 500 year. The state law requires us to have 200 years by 2025. I did want to point out, though, that when we meet that, we'll still have less than half of what the system was originally intended to do. And so, again, further magnifying that was DWR had an independent panel from across the world actually look at what would be an appropriate level of flood protection for the urban areas in the Central Valley, and they again went to the Standard Project flood, which again is about the 500 year. And then the last one on this I wanted to mention was back when we were doing the American River Common Features GRR that led to the Common Features 2016 project. It kind of had a realization back in headquarters, I think it finally hit them, what we were trying to tell them about the cold water issue that we were having here. You know, they had just experienced Hurricane Katrina. People were in the water for days before they were able to recover them. The water temperature at that time, when I looked it up, was 82 degrees. Here, where our water is in the 40s because it's snow melt, and people only last for a few hours before they start getting hypothermia. So it hit the core. We can't afford to let people flood and recover, and we got to keep the water off of them. So they asked us all to agree to continue on to a 500-year event or protection. So currently, how our system works is we store as much as we can up at Folsom. The system downstream is designed to pass 115,000. What happens when the American River gets down to the Sac River, there's no place for the water to go in a large flood event. So basically we push whatever's coming down the Sacramento or the American River over through the Sacramento bypass into the Yolo bypass. So moving forward, how do we handle larger floods? We can either store it, convey it, or a combination of the two. So back in the 90s, early 90s, the Corps twice recommended storing it at an Auburn Dam up at detention dam there, flood control. Congress declined to authorize that, largely due to a lot of opposition both nationally and locally. So in 96, Congress began a series of authorizations to basically get as much storage as we can out of Folsom and then increase the conveyance capacity up to from 115,000 to 160,000. So 28 years ago and $5 billion more, we've got 6 projects under construction that are doing that. And when these are done, we'll be able to handle about a 300-year event from the Sacramento or the American River, still short of where we were before. So we put together, in response to the Corps' request, back in 2017, a plan to get to a 500-year. 3 components of that, and really, the 3. I'll start with protecting the American River. What that is hardening the river so when we go to 160, it stays in the channel and doesn't go out. And then widening the Sacramento Weir and bypass so when the 160 gets to the Sacramento River, we can take it over to the Yolo bypass. Those are under construction, authorized, funded, so those are moving forward. We also need to look at widening the Fremont Weir and pinch points in the Yolo bypass. Congress authorized that study. It's funded and it's moving forward. And then upstream on the American River, we're working with SMUD and Placer County Water Agency. We're looking at improving outlet capacity at some of their reservoirs and a forecast operation that can, 1, help some of the dam safety issues, 2, help improve hydroelectric, and water supply, and then also ahead of large flood events, create some additional flood space. So we're working on that concept to see what we can do up there. So this just kind of summarized it. First, after 86, we got an agreement with Reclamation to provide a little more space with the reoperation of Folsom and address the immediate deficiencies. Then we had to go get the system up to the new urban levee design criteria and meet the 200-year level of protection. Then finally, we're getting the system back to where it was intended to provide about a 500-year level of protection. So I just wanted to hit the highlights of that real quick and kind of get that out there for the public, maybe help answer the question that came up last time and see if there's any questions.
Supervisor Stern.
Thank you. Good reminder, Rick. I think a lot of us have been around long enough to understand most of what you've presented, but nonetheless is a good reminder generally of what our agency is charged to do and how we do it and what our options are to best manage flood threats. I'm curious, though, one of the slides you showed in terms of how we do that, whether it's conveyance or a combination of things, one was to widen the bypasses. Mm-hmm. What about deepening the bypasses?
Well, I mean, increasing the capacity of the
Do we look at doing both? I don't understand. I'm not a hydrologist, so I'm just curious. Though, is there any benefit one over the other, whether you look at deepening versus widening those bypasses?
Yeah, I mean, you could moving that much material. The yellow bypass is about 50,000 acres, so moving that much material to deepen it is pretty cost prohibitive. But I mean, just as an example, the deep shipwater channel, they actually, when they built that for the Port of West Sacramento, that actually came out of the bypass capacity. It's deeper, so if there was a way to put that back in, it would increase capacity. But I think that, I mean, we just need to increase the capacity of the channel. It'll be less expensive to widen it than to deepen it.
It just seems like if you were to deepen it, you could take the spoils from deepening and actually use that, if need be, in places to actually elevate the crown of levee, maybe deficient levee stretches. And at the same time, you're widening the bypasses. I assume you got to incur the cost of the structure of doing so, especially
right.
when they are operating as active roadways, mm-hmm. correct?
Right.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
No, that's a good point, Phil, and it's certainly something we need to take a look at. Right.
Thank you.
Director Jones.
Thank you. Hey, thanks for the report, Rick. It was really interesting. I enjoyed reading it to really get more detail. Over the last few winters, when we've had some not high, but some higher water in the river, I have a lot of newer neighbors, and they worry about the flood, and they're like, is it time? And it's like, I remember in high school, it was 1986, and I was going to Rio Marcano High School, and I was a senior. And it was the 86 flood. And I remember going over the levee and standing up there and seeing that the river looked as wide as it is long, and it takes your breath away when you see like how significant the risk really is. And I hope that nobody has to see that. We never see that again. We don't want to go through that even under the best case scenario for our levees. However, it's like if you remind people like the risk is real, and when it happens, it's significant, and it's hard to visualize unless you see it with your own eyes. It's great to see the reminder of like what we've gone through and what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
I had a question on the one projected change of water supply where you had the box overlaid and you're talking about the Folsom Reservoir. So is that identified as sort of a gap in just water supply, or is that in? Tell me more about what you're illustrating there, because I didn't quite catch everything.
Okay, so this was a study led by the Bureau of Reclamation, but a number of agencies participated in it. And so what it showed was that the runoff it's coming earlier. Some of it's more rainfall or snow melting earlier. So the problem we have is the if it comes down too early and we're encroached or near encroachment in flood space, we have to release it. And so what we're getting is with more of those runoffs coming into that period, we're releasing more of the water to keep the flood space out. And that means, and reducing the amount, the amount wasn't changing, the total amount is just moving earlier. So it reduces our water supply and then makes the flood side hurt more. So it kind of shows one of the weaknesses of all the dams along the multi-purpose dams along the Sierra Nevada, but also goes back to why a forecast-informed operation helps, because then we don't have to draw it down as much if we know, there's not as much snow out there. So I think the study was done to help. We participate on the flood side, but I think it was more on the water supply, was trying to figure out how to deal with it.
Thanks.
Is one way of looking at it, though, Rick, that now compared to 3 decades ago, if you were to measure it in release hours or release days, it's increasing, correct?
It seems to be, yeah. There's more coming. And
I mean, regardless of season and when runoffs happen due to snowmelt versus, other factors, if you just were to look at the duration of release time, I got to believe it's a growing bar chart.
I think so. And then what we're also seeing is more extremes, either drier or wetter, and we're having less of the middle type periods. And the fear is that that's going to continue or worsen moving forward. So,
Director Abdus.
Thank you. I'd like to say thanks to Steve for bringing up 1986, and for those of us that do remember that time. I lived in Rio Linda at the time. My family had 10 feet of water in their house. We made the 6 o'clock news, the national news, I remember. And so that is not a fond experience that I carry with me, but what it does underscore is sort of the day-to-day. We kind of forget the great mission of this agency, and it's unfortunate that a lot of people out in the public don't actually know what Safca does, and I know they'll find out if we don't do our job. But I do want to commend, obviously, the people who came before us, because forming this agency was so critical in providing the level of flood protection for our region. I mean, that can't be understated. The folks at that time had real vision in creating this agency and kind of consolidating the kind of fractionalized efforts out there for drainage and levee maintenance areas. So I just want to acknowledge that, and I do want to recognize, the important work the staff does and that this board does every day. And it's good to have these occasional reminders, like this slideshow, to remind me. I mean, I've served on this board for a long time, and it is good to be grounded in why we're here. So thanks.
Thank you, Director. I have one question, or almost a comment, but just so that we're clear to the public who doesn't sit up here and hear these presentations regularly, when you say we had 500-year flood protection, that was not based on today's standards. No. That was based on the standards back then.
Right.
We've really never had 500-year flood protection based upon today's standards.
correct.
Okay.
The intent was to have 500 years. They thought they did when they built it, but we learned we don't. So that's a good clarification. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we have any public comment?
I have not received any.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. And that takes us, we will recess into closed session. Does the clerk want to read the closed session items into the record?
Sure. Government Code Section 54956.8, conference with real property negotiators regarding Sevier County APN 3515004 at 2700 Sankey Road, and that's on behalf of Odysseus Farms, represented by Gary Levievich. And then closed session item Government Section 54956.8, conference with real property negotiators regarding Sutter County APNs 35220-027 and 029, located at south side of Sankey Road and east of Pacific Avenue, represented by Gary Levievich, Esquire, on behalf of Odysseus Farms. And finally, Government Code Section 54957 regarding public employee performance evaluation, Executive Director Johnson.
Great, thank you very much. We will recess into closed session.
Yeah, that was Chuck.
Director Frost. Here. Director Hume.
Here?
Chairman Kennedy.
Here.
Director Cerna. Director Jennings.
Here.
Director Holloway. Director Johns. Director Avidas. Director Perez.
Present.
We do have a 9-member quorum.
Thank you. There's nothing to report out of closed session, so next item, please.
Next item is consent matters, and items 2 through 10 are in order.
Any member of the board have any questions on items 2 through 10?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any public comment?
I have not received any.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is the executive director's report.
Oh, good afternoon again. Sorry, talking so much. This is a short one to make up for the first one. So I did want to share with you that both the Corps of Engineers and the state of California put out an update statement on the American River Calm Features 2016 Supplemental EIS/EIR. I put them in the written report, but I did want to highlight one thing on there. They have acknowledged that the process is going to take them longer, that there not going to be any construction of any of the projects covered by this document in 2025. The earliest would be 2026. So, and likewise, the Central Valley Board did a similar statement. So I just wanted to make everyone aware of that. I have a few pictures, new pictures since the last board meeting. I'll jump too quick. First, I got to remind everybody.
It's a pretty picture.
Yeah. The federal fiscal year started October 1st. They hadn't passed a budget yet, but they did pass a continuing resolution to keep the government funded through December 20th. So I just want to make you aware of that. So, okay, now the pictures. So this is up at Folsom on the right dam where they're raising the dam with a flood wall. So this is a layer of concrete that they put down to build the flood wall on top of it. On the next one, I put the cross section up there. The yellow is that concrete layer you just saw, and then the flood wall is being built up on top of that. And then moving over to the Sacramento Weir, this is the fish passage. Just every week you go out there, you see more and more stuff going up, but you can start seeing it coming up out of the ground vertically. And then these are, they're getting the walls ready to build on the bridge abutments there. So those are the few new photos I had from last time. And then finally, in November, we're going to bring a resolution to the board recommending that the December board meeting be canceled because of its proximity to the holidays. It comes after both the city and county have finished all their activities. And so I just wanted to make you aware that right now we're probably not going to be a December board meeting. So, and that was all I had.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, is there any member of the public? Seeing none, I believe everything else is a receive and file, so we're adjourned. Our next meeting is November 21st.
Pretty darn quick.